The trial against the former Prime Minister of Ukraine, Yulia Tymoshenko, was started on June 24th this year. It is taking place in the Pechersky District Court in the center of Kyiv. The public prosecution office that is controlled by the President Yanukovych is accusing Tymoshenko of abuse of power while signing the agreements with Russia about gas supply and its transit to Europe. The case is handled by the judge Rodion Kireyev. He's 31 and he started his career just 2 years ago. Earlier, he worked in a small town and dealt with trivial criminal and administrative cases. Kireyev was transferred to the Pechersky District Court by the order of the President 2 months before the start of the proceedings against Yulia Tymoshenko. The trial started in the conditions which the ambassador of the European Union, José Manuel Pinto Teixeira, called unhuman. According to the law, trials in Ukraine are open. However, numbers of people who wanted to attend this particular one didn't manage to get into the courtroom that is only 40 square meters. It was too hot and tough in there. The clothes of the people were soaked in sweat. I was lucky to stand near the open window. I want to thank the judge who postponed the trial, otherwise I would have got to hospital due to dehydration. The defense lawyer of Yulia Tymoshenko addressed the judge with the request to get the trial moved to the more suitable room that the National Union of Writers was ready to give. There are so many people in the room that it's impossible to breathe. It's overcrowded. All people are sweating. I am asking the judge to have the trial in the courtroom that is more than 2,000 square meters. It's suitable for conferences and congresses for approximately 250 people. The judge refused to change the room. The trial was held in the same conditions. The events in the street were also hot. This case stirred up the society. Yulia Tymoshenko is the most popular politician in the opposition. The Ukrainians are going out for demonstrations to support her. However, the militia prevents people from showing their position.
Ганебна влада свідчить про те, що вона боїться народ. Вони бояться правди і хочуть будь-яким чином закрити нам можливість говорити. Ми просимо захистити можливість говорити правду. Ми просимо дати можливість говорити правду. Як в цьому суді, як в суді, так і скрізь.
The main point of the trial is regarded differently by its participants. The public prosecution office claims about the criminal offenses of Yulia Tymoshenko, but she and her lawyers are sure that it is an ordered political persecution.
In order to create a positive image of an effective leader who managed to solve the problem of the gas crisis with Russia and at the same breath to prove her earlier statements about the necessity to remove the intermediary company Rosukrenergo from the market, Tymoshenko decided to accept unprofitable conditions for Ukraine and at all costs, even by abuse of power, to get the agreements made between Naftogaz of Ukraine and Gazprom.
The court cannot clarify the point of the accusation of Tymoshenko. What's the real side of crime? The definition of crime? In what acts or inactivity? The court is at the dead end, so is the public prosecution office. It's because at the stage of the pre-trial investigation, the public prosecution office didn't manage to announce the definition of the crime. The problem is that the criminal law got into unnatural sphere that's not proper to it, the sphere of politics.
In this court, the only aim of the prosecutors and the judge is not to give me a chance to say a word in my defense and give the objective information to people who watch this reprisal on TV. That's why I am interrupted by the judge or the prosecutors at my every word. All this was staged in advance at the president's administration. The trial is being carried out just with the political aim, and this aim is to eliminate the opposition, which is very active in Ukraine.
During the proceedings, the lawyers of Tymoshenko don't have any opportunity to get ready properly for the hearings. The judge Kireyev gave them only 3 days to study 5,000 pages of the case. As a result of bad fatigue, one of the lawyers, Mykola Tatarenko, couldn't participate in the trial. I'm exhausted. I cannot participate fully in the trial and give the professional legal help to my client due to my health condition. Mykola Tatarenko felt bad and an ambulance was called. The lawyer was helped to the car. He's feeling serious pain in his chest. He was injected with some medicaments and was urgently hospitalized to the cardiology department. The defense of Tymoshenko is constantly facing obstacles. We see the militia prevent the lawyers from getting to their working place by the order of the judge. Moreover, the judge didn't allow Tymoshenko to invite foreign lawyers. In addition, he deprived the defendant of her 2 lawyers. One of them, Sergei Vlasenko, was made to leave the courtroom. The judge is to rush through the case and to pass sentence. That is why the lawyers are removed. More prosecutors are invited and everything is done in order to hear the case without any evidence as soon as possible. Yulia Tymoshenko herself was made to leave the courtroom twice. A representative of the Public Prosecution Office announced the accusation in her absence, contrary to the law. People clad in similar uniform appeared in the courtroom during the trial. They call themselves representatives of the public organization Tymoshenko Must Stand Trial. These people are supported by the militia. They can get to the courtroom easily anytime. One morning, after they opened the courtroom, which is guarded 24 hours a day, the deputies of the Yulia Tymoshenko block found these people inside. One of the men made a public announcement that the members of the organization Tymoshenko Must Stand Trial are hired. At night, the representatives of the party in power took them to the court by militia bus and guided them to the room. At 4 o'clock a.m. we were taken here from the Party of Regions district head office through the back door. We were told to sit quietly, and then were asked to put on T-shirts, and we were asked any questions we had to answer, that we were organization Yulia must go behind bars or something. At 6 o'clock we were locked inside. Before that we were allowed to use the toilet because the doors would be closed till opening of the court. Some time later, the men started appearing in the courtroom clad in T-shirts with offensive writings concerning the deputies who support Yulia Tymoshenko. One of the former coordinators of the organization, Pavlo Tsilovalnikov, who decided to quit such an activity, talked more precisely about these techniques. Pavlo showed the journalists printed materials tarnishing the reputation of the opposition leader and her supporters, and the faked journalists' evidence, which was used by the members of the so-called public organization. Pavlo added that it's all run and sponsored by the Party of Regions. These claims were made right after his companions planned a bloody provocation. A provocative action is being prepared. It was told to find a man who in advance, just 1 day before it, got injuries. Fighting with the deputies of the Yulia Tymoshenko bloc will be organized. All this is done by our provocators. And then it will be used for addressing the Public Prosecution Office and the Verkhovna Rada with a request to deprive the deputies of their immunity, to discredit them. It is to be the reason not to let the deputies into the courtroom. The judge, Kireyev, started a new illegal practice of putting people out of the courtroom. He also makes the deputies of the parliament leave the court. The Ukrainian law guarantees them the immunity, but the militia force them out. The oldest deputy, Mikhailo Kosev, a famous dissident and a political prisoner of the Soviet times, was the first who was made to leave by the judge. I fell under the article and stood trials in the Soviet courts for anti-Soviet propaganda and agitation because me and Vyacheslav Chornovil published an underground magazine. I know the way the Soviet judges acted. To my shame, I must admit that they were 100-fold more correct than you. The militia didn't dare to force Mikhailo Kosyev out. However, the deputy left the room himself because due to stress he felt bad. He was taken to hospital right from the court. The next deputy, which the judge decided to sack, was Yevhen Suslov. He refused to leave the courtroom, so Kireyev ordered the militia to force him out. The deputies and the journalists were victims of the militia subdivisions. They were just pushed out of the room. The television equipment was damaged.
Женя, ни хрена! С какой стати я работаю?
Дай пройти. Вниз, Андрон, давай вниз. Вниз.
Вниз, тобто ви будете скидувати нас?
There was an attempt of the militia subdivisions, Berkut and Griffon, to storm the room. First they asked the journalists to leave the courtroom, so that they left the room, and it was not filmed. When the journalists refused to leave because there weren't any legal grounds for this, the militia started the real storm. They physically squeezed all present, broke cameras and people. All that took place in the Pechersky court. It's a shame. During the authoritarian regime, which used to be here just some years ago, such things never happened. The militia didn't react to the complaints of the journalists about the illegal obstruction to their professional activity and the material damages. Use of physical force to the deputies in the Pechersky court became a usual thing.
Народный депутат, куда ты меня тянешь? Я вас не трогаю. Тихо, ласка, ведите. Вы тебя выталкиваете.
These materials were filmed with cameras of cell phones because the judge, under different excuses, has been banning any video and photo filming for over 2 months. The brutality reached the highest point on July 26th, when all present got outraged. When Tymoshenko was deprived of her right on legal defense, the judge ordered the militia to empty the room. During the incident, the militia injured several deputies and journalists. The deputy, Ostap Semerak, suffered the most. He was hospitalized with the diagnosis concussion of the brain. The events of August 5th became the apogee of the proceedings. The judge met the request of the public prosecution office about the arrest of Yulia Tymoshenko. Before the arrest, she made a video addressed to the people of Ukraine.
Я звертаюся до вас щойно.
I am addressing you right after I got the information about the order of Yanukovych to arrest me. Today I still have all the possibilities to get a political asylum in any other country and protect my life, my freedom, and to be happy with my family. But I am not going to flee from Ukraine.
The arrest of Yulia Tymoshenko stirred strong protests in the society. People tried to stop the car which was taking the opposition leader from the court to the prison. However, they were strongly confronted by the numerous subdivisions of the militia.
Шановні друзі, ще не виїхали. Шановні друзі. Не виконуйте. Ну я тебе
Остановитесь, пожалуйста! Остановитесь, милиция!
Пусти меня, ты сейчас пойду.
убирайте с дороги.
Выйди своих матери!
Быстрей, быстрей!
Валера, пойди, пожалуйста, наш этот уголок, где стоит.
Every day in the court, the lawyers of Tymoshenko claim about the absence of grounds for her arrest and try to get her released. A lot of requests come from numbers of citizens, politicians, artists, and representatives of religion. They all are turned down. The defense shows the evidence that first, there's no reason to keep Yulia Tymoshenko under arrest. Second, the change of the preventive measure was illegal, but the public prosecution office justifies it just with the words, she must be kept there, that's it. The stay in prison impacted Tymoshenko's health. Some worrying symptoms appeared and they need to be examined immediately. Tymoshenko insists that the examination must be done by doctors she trusts. However, the judge refuses.
One
of the clue requests is getting the doctor and the nurse with an opportunity to take the blood and make the blood test. We were facing obstacles. The doctor is included to the commission, but he is not allowed to do any manipulations. The hearings take place every day from the morning till the evening, and the lawyers don't have any opportunity to communicate with the defendant and get ready for the following hearings. During the examination of witnesses, the judge allowed them not to answer the questions of Tymoshenko and her lawyers and banned the defense to ask questions about the main point of the case. Moreover, the judge refuses to attach to the case the important materials proving Tymoshenko's innocence and to invite witnesses of the defense to the court. Working in such a pace and rhythm, we are trying to do our best to make the necessary documents appear among the materials of the case, which are considered by the defense to prove Tymoshenko's innocence. The public prosecution office is against this, even against attaching them to the case, preventing the court from comparing the evidence of the defense and the prosecution. Moreover, the court supports the prosecution office and refuses the defense. We consider that this way of suspicions concerning the absence of objectivity and equality at these proceedings are confirmed, and the prosecution and the court are not interested in finding the truth. The defense of Yulia Tymoshenko submitted a request about the invitation of 30 witnesses. Without any known reasons, the judge refused to invite the witnesses. The prosecution invited 38 witnesses, but the defense was allowed to get only 2 ones. The only limitation left for us by the court is not to let us participate at hearings. The court has already done all the rest. The world leaders expressed their worry about the political nature of this process and the arrest of Yulia Tymoshenko. The position of European Union was expressed by the President of Poland, Mr. Bronisław Komorowski. Ukraine is making success to its way to European integration, but it faces obstacles. One of these obstacles is, without any doubt, the case of Tymoshenko that is regarded in many countries of Europe as a political case, but not a criminal one. I expect that in the nearest future we'll be able to know how the President of Ukraine and the Ukrainian authorities will find the solution to the problem. We would like to get good news about the solution of the problem, and we don't want the doubts concerning the motivation of the proceedings to grow. The State Secretary of the USA, Hillary Clinton, and the High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, Catherine Ashton, in their letter to the President Yanukovych, expressed their worry about the arrest of Yulia Tymoshenko and the political motivation of the proceedings against her. Numerous countries of the democratic world and outstanding politicians expressed their position with claims of the same sort. Meanwhile, Yulia Tymoshenko is under arrest for 2 months yet. While this movie was being created, the final debates took place in the court, and the very next step will be the judge's decision. The prosecutors demand to imprison the former Prime Minister for 7 years and to prohibit obtaining official positions in authorities for 3 following years.